Welcome to Anglesey. It's round 7 of the 2017 Thundersport GP1 Championship to bring to you in association with Michelin and the Monex GP1 Sportsman as well. This is the man of the moment, isn't it? Lee Williams on pole position there. Lee, who has been in charge of this championship pretty much all year long. Of course, the reigning champion as well. And coming into today, given yesterday's results, it was a win for him here at Anglesey yesterday from George Stanley and Dave Brook. George Stanley was on the in-competition Aprilia. Nice to see his name mentioned here. He couldn't quite get the better of Lee, who gets the whole shot here as well, number 94. Williams' win means he comes into today 99 points clear of Dave Brook, who's second in this race, and we've got a fall already early on in this one. Number 7 going down there, that's James Kelly, one of our riders over from the Republic, limping away. So, 200 points available, including this race from now until the end of the year. And Williams with a 99-point lead. Dave Brook there just tucked up behind. Of course, if you're any good at maths, you'll be able to work out that mathematically then, no matter what happens today, Williams can't continue as champion. Oh my word, he can now. That is unbelievable. Dave Brook's gone down. He looks hurt. Oh, blimey, that's a broken leg. That has got to be a leg gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh dear, that's horrendous to see there.
That looks a bit nasty.
He tried to get back up on his feet there, Sid, and there was nothing there. I think he's broken his leg.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a red flag.
Oh my word, the red flags are out. We send our best wishes to Dave Brook. That is horrendous. The man who was second in the championship at the top at Rocket. We start again then with no Dave Brook. Now, well, that means that Lee Williams might as well just be given the championship now, although mathematically he can't pick it up until we get to Alton Park. Dave Brook was the only man that could prevent him from doing it, and that looked like a clear-cut broken leg, excuse the pun. I hope you're okay, Dave. We send you our best wishes, mate, because that looked horrendous at the top of Rocket for him. So
He must have fallen really awkwardly there.
I don't think I want to see it again, so I'm glad we've not got a replay of that one. Lee Williams it is then that has this advantage. In truth, it was going to be a bit of an uphill climb for Dave Brook to try and find a way back into this. The only thing he can now hope for is maybe that he can hold on to the runners-up spot, because Paul McClung closes in if with Dave Brook out, of course. Paul McClung sports the number 49. He's just up inside the top 5 as we speak. We're on board with Paul Charman, of course, champion with Thundersport last year. It's a bit messy up at the top of Rocket once more as he tries to find his way through 1 or 2 bikes, but at the front it is Lee Williams from George Stanley. George Stanley then from Stapleton on that Aprilia.
Nice move up the inside there, Steve.
George Stanley, of course, a rider that has been with us before, a race winner at 450 level, and he's been making a name for himself over at British Championship level. Nice to have him here. Just in third then is Paul McClung. He's moved up a place. Just behind them is Cody Nally. Nice to see Cody out there, of course. Spends quite a bit of time over. He knows this circuit well. Cody Nally, an accomplished rider. So it's good to see that he's out there having some fun. Jonathan Lodge is with us as well. Lodgy 126. And perhaps at short circuit level not quite had the couple of seasons that he would really like. There's a bit of dust gets kicked up, but there's no questioning who the master of GP1 is these days. Lee Williams is such a force to be reckoned with. Everybody that has turned up has failed to ultimately beat him over the course of the season, and he is looking like he's going to pick up another championship and become the first rider in Thundersport GB history to successfully defend a GP1 crown. Got a bit tight there and close up at Rocket. The Constantina effect worked out well for Paul McClung, who moves up into second place ahead there of George Stanley. And they're on that Aprilia RSV4, of course. So with no Dave Brook, Lee Williams has its championship in the palm of his hands. On board with Paul Charman again. Just coming through the corkscrew. That's Jamie Tibble just to his right. Lovely move that from Paul, making his way onto the start-finish straight. Paul Charman out there on that Seaton Tuning Yamaha R1.
Such a shame for Dave Brook there. I mean, after his inaugural win at Snetterton, you know, he really was on the way back up, wasn't he? And well, whilst he would have still struggled to have made the championship, certainly would have got second. It remains to be seen what sort of injury that actually is, but you know, that could be out for the rest of the season, Jobby, could that?
Yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? And the thing is, Sid, is that Paul McClung coming into today was only about 63 points behind Dave Brook, and you'd fancy McClung to be able to find that.
Well, yeah, McClung is a very, very good rider, and were it not for that disaster at Mallory, he would have still been tapping on the door, of course. By the way, George Stanley there, obviously very fast on that Aprilia, which is a lovely machine, as we know when we saw Luke Hedger on it at Rockingham. Worth pointing out that George Stanley is actually still the RRV 450 GP record holder at this circuit.
Ah, nice one. Good knowledge, Sid, good knowledge. Although I bet you didn't look for that one yourself. Come on, who told you?
I did just look for it.
Oh, okay, well, there we go. We're learning new things here. Sid is actually doing research. No, that is a first.
Well, I'm learning from the master, Sir Stephen
Who's
Day.
that? Further back in the pack here is Ben Crowe, number 99. Ben, one of the few riders inside the top 8 of the championship actually here to play. So Ben Crowe could move up a few places in the championship. Mark Sykes, can't see his name anywhere on the entry list. Likewise, Phil Crowe missing. Billy Meller is not here, obviously. And I can't see Michael Neves either. So Neves is obviously having a weekend off. He's working somewhere in the sun, no doubt.
I've no doubt about that. Isn't Phil's quite heavily involved in helping building engines and stuff for Chrissy Rouse, I think, isn't he?
Oh, right, okay. That's good.
Because funnily enough, they had Chrissy Rouse got his second place taken away at Cadwell for an illegal engine, which they fought, appealed against her, and it was all fully, big inquiry and everything else, and it was found to be perfectly all right. So he got his second place back, and Phil Crowe was fully vindicated, which I'm really pleased about, because I know Phil, and he would not do anything wrong on an engine.
No, absolutely not. A good move there again. George Stanley just getting it slightly wrong at the rocket. That means Paul McClung comes through. They can't just quite get their nose in front of Lee Williams at this moment in time. You mentioned Phil Crowe there, of course, former champion at Thundersport GP1 class. We were going through earlier, weren't we, Sid, the former champions at GP1 level, when we were talking about Lee Williams potentially claiming this championship 2 years on the trot. Pete Baker, the only rider to have actually won more than one GP1 title, but they were not in consecutive years. Gary May won the inaugural GP1 title 2008, then it was Pete Baker 09. Phil Crowe 2010, I can barely believe that, 7 years ago now. 2011 was Michael Robertson. Great season that was.
Steve, though, by the way, old Paul McClung has taken Lee there. Yeah,
well, McClung could do with the points if he wants to close the gap down on Dave Brook. Immediately Lee Williams with the drive coming out of Church Corner is up alongside him again. Paul McClung, a really good rider last year at Super Twin level, and proving to be a very good rider at this level also. And George Stanley will just be taking it all in at the moment. Of course, George has got experience at British Championship level, but not necessarily on the larger machine, so he'll just be trying to get the laps in.
I haven't seen George for quite a while, but I have to say yesterday turned into a very nice young man.
Well, he was never a horrible young man.
No, but they often do turn into universal
prima donnas.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you for the word. Yes,
yeah, okay.
I was thinking of something else, but
I have to say, Sid,
very nice.
On the whole, George came from a clique of riders that all went up to British Championship similar time. You would be hard pushed to find any that are prima donnas. They're all very nice still.
Yeah,
you think about the riders such as Chrissy Rouse, really nice kid.
Yeah.
George Stanley, Ross Twyman, Tom Oliver. All of those guys,
really lovely,
very
kid,
approachable still. They've not let it get to their head.
Well, I say lovely kids, but they're young men now.
Ben Luxton also, they are all young men, aren't they? But there are very, very few riders that have come through the ranks of Aprilia Super Team Stroke 450s have actually gone on to become somebody that I'd rather not spend time with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here is Lee Williams, then he still leads this race.
Oh!
Clung and almost got thrown out of the saddle. It's not often you see Williams making mistakes, but he got a bit of a warning there.
Well, he's being pushed though, Steve. You know, you've got to remember that he is being pushed here.
Now, not what you would call optimum ambient temperatures here at Anglesey. There is a strong breeze, so track temperature is not at its highest.
Well, of course, I can tell you that last year, Michelin had some big problems with their tyres, big lumps falling out. It's a very abrasive circuit at these kind of speeds. They've tackled that with a kind of a brand new tyre, prototype tyre, and funnily enough, all the other tyre manufacturers are having that very same problem as Michelin had last year. Here now. Big lumps yesterday falling out of their tyres. Really scary looking stuff, Steve.
We're not near the lap record of John Ingram. Oh, blimey, that looks horrendous. There's a massive crash.
That's Tibble. That is Jamie Tibble.
Yellow flags were waving and Jamie Tibble's bike is just laying there on the side.
That's gone a long way, hasn't it?
It
Right
really
the way
has.
up.
It's unbelievable. I hope he's okay. That is a big, big crash. Incidentally, in terms of the Sportsman riders, Jamie Tibble being one of them, he was second in the championship. Ben Crowe could pick up the title here today in that class, number 99. He's just inside the top 10 at the moment, but it's Lee Williams, the race leader, from Paul McClung, and the last lap flag, oh, it went out last time, checkered flag's out. Lee Williams it is then that takes the victory, and it's another one to his name. It's a 124-point lead then that he now has, with 175 available. Good win there for Lee, under enormous pressure from Paul McClung. George Stanley on the Aprilia took third, Jonathan Lodge was fourth, Cody Nally fifth, and John Robb on his Suzuki finished the race in sixth. So top three there for you, the elite riders, Williams, McClung, Stanley. In the Sportsman class, another win for Ben Crowe. He takes it from Sonny Martin and Gary Hutchinson. Well, our best wishes go to those injured in that race. We'll be back with race 2 in just a couple of minutes. Time for race 2 then here for the Michelin tyres, Thundersport GP1 Elite and Monex Europe GP1 Sportsman. Wow, breathtaking in race 1. There's so much going on. Dave Brooke is obviously, no surprise, on his way to hospital. We send our best wishes after clearly breaking his leg at the top of Rocket. Jamie Tibble also involved in a big accident, and he's not on the grid either. So our best wishes to the pair of them. Now, what that means is that both Lee Williams and Ben Crowe here are in prime position to take their championships. If Lee wins this race, he'll be short of winning the championship by just 1 point. So he is basically what you'd call, champion-elect, and Dave Brooke ain't going to be coming back at Alton, so in effect it's his. Ben Crowe can wrap his Sportsman title up though here in this race, depending on results. Blimey, that was a bit messy. Over at the banking, 3 riders being sat up and one of them's gone down. Can't quite, it's absolutely furious. Is that Gary Hutchinson? It is. Gary Hutchinson, sponsored by Red's True Barbecue, needs to go and stick a couple of sausages on it now and calm himself down with a beer, because he's absolutely furious over at the banking. Probably not his fault, governed by his reaction, and that was a bit messy. Number 57 there, Cody Nally almost exiting scene right, but it's Lee Williams that has the advantage once more. That Aprilia of George Stanley's up in the top 5. There is 126, Jonathan Lodge. White leathers with the bright yellow trimming. Nice to see Chris Barnes up at the sharp end of this one in the early stages as well. Number 21, a regular at Thundersport GB over the years, but it's Williams from Nally, then McClung, Stanley, Barnes, then just behind Barnes there, can't quite point out who that, I think it was John Robb, then Lodge. They now tip it into target once more.
I think Cody was turning left to go to Holyhead, get it back on the ferry.
He certainly didn't look like he was going to make it at one point into the Rocket corner. Chipping it right then into Church corner. Lee Williams would become one of only probably a handful. In fact, I might have to have a little look at some of the records of previous champions. There cannot be many that have won 3 Thundersport GB championships. And of course he was Formula 600 champion the year before last. Then of course GP1 champion last year, and he's going to do it again here this year. There's been a number of riders that have managed to win 2 titles, but 3?
He's after becoming Thundersport GB Supreme Champion, isn't he? That's what he's after.
There must be a rider or 2 that have won 3 titles, but...
I might have to invent that title, actually.
Well, you never know.
When you get someone who can win it.
He's come up against some brilliant riders as Lee Williams. GP1 has never been more competitive than it is today. And in terms of looking at the pace that has been set at times this year, lap records going here and there. I don't think lap record's going to go here in GP1. John Ingram's lap time of 107.8. That ain't going to be beaten here today. The temperatures just are not going to allow it to happen, and grip levels are not quite optimum here at this particular moment in time. But Lee Williams won't care about that. He's got a job to do. He wants to get this one wrapped up and in the bag before we head to Alton. Of course, Alton Park, very much home for Lee Williams. So he's realistically, all he's got to do, he hasn't even got to ride in Alton Park because we know that Dave Brooke isn't going to be.
True.
So he doesn't even have to ride.
He doesn't have to get the point, does he?
But I'm sure he will.
But that, yeah. But then, everything, you never know what's going to happen, do you?
I'd be pretty sure on that one. I'm willing to put my mortgage on it.
Well,
look, you know, if Dave Brooke is able to miraculously recover in time for Alton Park, then hats off to him.
He won't recover for Alton Park.
Well, then the championship's done then.
And if Lee fell off horribly in practice,
then the championship's still done.
Okay. So he's champion then?
Kind of, yeah. Mathematics will tell you not, and I could probably be here all day having a long discussion and argument with Dave Stewart about it, but yeah, I mean, you may as well just crown him here, but technically speaking, Alton Park, race 1, from the moment the lights go out, he will become champion.
But as you say, in any case, it's kind of like his home circuit, really. He'll feel really at home there. He'll go there brimming with confidence, won't he? And, you know, I'm sure he'll enjoy it no end.
Sure he will. He's leading this race.
Yeah, I think 5 championships would be good to be a Thundersport GB Supreme Champion, wouldn't it? If you won 5 championships over the time that you're with us, or whether you come back to us or whatever, but if you were 5 times a winner of a championship, that would be a good super. I might think about that one.
Well, there's certainly no one that's won 5 titles at Thundersport before, and I'm struggling right off the top of my head right now to think of many that have done 3, but I'm sure there must be somewhere along the line. Anyway, let's focus on this for now. It is Lee Williams leading this GP1 race. You're looking there at Chris Barnes, bright yellow machine up at Rocket. Here is Williams, your race leader, just getting early on the power out of Rocket out, and already building up quite a nice lead. There's Paul Charman, Ben Crow, and 111 is Sonny Martin. These guys are all just inside the top 10 overall. There's Jordan Rushby as well, number 2. Nice to see Jordan out there. Of course, the rider that finished runner-up in the Elite 600 Championship last year had another crack at it this year. It hasn't been his year again. He's been full of injuries, and now he's decided that next year he will tackle this championship, the GP1, so he's having a little play out on some larger machinery here on a BMW ahead of what will be a truly testing year, because the pace is hot here. There is Ben Scranage up ahead of Seth MacFarlane. Sam MacFarlane? Seth MacFarlane. Who's Seth?
You're watching too much Emmerdale,
Is that Seth MacFarlane? Yeah, probably. I don't even watch any soaps, but yeah, I'm sure. And there's Mike
That's what
Booth
you
as well.
say.
I've got time, Sid.
Corey.
There is Williams, the race leader from George Stanley. And that Aprilia going well.
To be fair, I mean, like, we know, Steve, that Lee is fast, and he is fast. You can see he's fast. We know he's fast. So, it's not too dusty what George Stanley is doing there on a bike that he's not used to or anything. He's a fast lad, isn't he?
Well, he is, and there's been a number of British Championship competitors that have come to fight with Lee Williams and have had a bit of a shock to the system. Lee, on the right machinery at British Championship level, would wake a few people up.
Well, and as we've seen, like the likes of Cadwell Park and everything, he can turn it up depending on what is required. So he'll go as fast as necessary. He won't just go flat out. And he's actually very good at that. He's very good at going at a reasonable pace and then responding if, his pit board tells him that somebody's catching him.
Yeah,
very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a very, very good rider, is Lee.
But you're right, George isn't doing a bad job here at all. He's not completely losing sight of Lee. Paul McClung back there in third. He, with a decent result here, and with this podium, if he keeps it, he would move to within 27 points of the injured Dave Brooke. With 6 races left. Behind McClung, we've got John Robb, Cody Nally, Jonathan Lodge, and then we just saw there a moment ago, number 9, Paul Charman. There is McClung, and there is the battle between Nally and Barnes. Sorry, forgot about Barnes. He's up there as well. Good start for him.
I think Paul McClung and his family would maybe tell you they're a little disappointed with this year. I think they probably expected to do more, but when you think about where they've come from and how much they've achieved and how fast Paul has become, I would tot it up to say that they've had a very successful year, despite some bad luck, etc., etc. I think he's done very, very well. He's shown what he's capable of, and next year is another year, and I think that watch out for Paul McClung.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I had a feeling he'd be up there, which he has been. I didn't personally believe that he'd properly be able to challenge Lee for the championship this year. Next year is a different matter, with a full season of GP1 experience under your belt, and maybe a bit of luck going his way. You never know what's going to happen. You speak to Lee a lot more than I do, Sid. Is he planning on defending it again?
I think he is.
Great.
There's nowhere else.
He enjoys himself anyway.
He openly said to me that he doesn't like British Championship. He doesn't like being there particularly. He loves the Thundersport GP paddock. They enjoy it. He doesn't believe that he's going to be world champion. He's doing it as a hobby, but it's an important hobby, and I hope he does stay. It certainly gives everyone a target to go for.
He's probably putting a few other people off though as well.
Well, I don't know. What amazes me is how many people haven't chosen the Michelins when clearly, the Michelins are doing so well. I mean, there was first and second place last year on Michelin, but there aren't as many people as I expected to go on them and follow these guys. Obviously Dunlop and Continental, both very good marks of tyre, as we know. So it's kind of understandable, and I love the competition, the tyre competition in the paddock as well. So it is absolutely brilliant.
George Stanley then here in second place, having a really good ride out. Second place, it looks like it's going to be his again as the last lap flag goes out. Lee Williams putting on a masterclass here at Anglesey just to cement his status as the Thundersport GP1 champion. And he will go to Alton and collect the spoils, and he will be stood up on stage in January of next year to collect another championship crown at Thundersport GB level. and become a part of a very elite group. And I really am struggling still to think of anybody that's managed 3. It'll come to me. It will come to me. Lee Williams, though, it looks like it's going to be another win for him. Now, I should just quickly point out that Ben Crow at the moment is a couple of tenths clear on that last lap of Sonny Martin. He's in 8th places, Ben, number 99. It is looking very much like, if he stays on board, that Ben Crow will become the Sportsman champion. Now, Ben, I think, has done a really good job this year because he is actually still in with a shout for a top 5 finish in the championship overall as well.
Which is excellent, isn't it?
Which is fantastic. So, really well done. Lee Williams takes it then. It's another win to add to his growing tally. It means he's 149 points clear with 150 available going into Alton. Well done to George Stanley as well. Nice to see him back at Thundersport and giving Lee something to think about, certainly in the early stages. Paul McClung takes 3rd, closes in on Dave Brook overall in the championship, and John Robb was 4th. Cody Nally 5th, Jonathan Lodge 6th. I can confirm, as we see here, Williams top step ahead of Stanley and McClung, that Sportsman champion is Ben Crow for 2017. He looks happy with that as well. Well done to you, Ben. Let's have a look at the championship standings then. There it is for your own eyes. Lee Williams then will be highlighted in yellow next time around. Paul McClung closing in on him. Billy Mellor 4th. Ben Crow has actually moved up into 5th now overall. And there he is, confirmed in yellow as the GP1 Sportsman champion. Our best wishes to Jamie Tibble and Dave Brook after some pretty horrific injuries by the looks of things there in that last one. That's it then. I hope Dave Brook's not in there. If he is, we send you all the best, mate. We'll fly off now and see you at Alton for the penultimate round of 2017.